Feliz jueves, scientists! How's your week been going? Buenísimo! My week is going by really fast. This new year is already passing by so quickly. I guess that means we shouldn't waste any of our time together. This week we've been learning about the 5 senses so we can answer our question, how do scientists make observations? Let's review our 5 senses together before we continue our learning. Sight, smell, sound, taste, and touch. Muy buen trabajo. Today, we will learn about a scientist from the past, and this scientist will be related to our study of the 5 senses. But first, I have a story to share with all of you. It's a story about me using my senses, but it has an interesting problem that relates to the scientist we'll be studying. Are you ready to hear my story? All right, buenísimo. Well, my story takes place in my dark apartment at 6:30 in the morning. I wake up this early because it's the time I feed my dog and take him for a walk. Now, most people would turn their light on when they get up, but I can't because my partner is still asleep at this time. Luckily, I'm able to turn on my kitchen light to feed my dog, but then I have to go turn it off when we go for the walk. Scientists, this is the most challenging part of my day. I have to quietly find my dog's leash and harness, put it on him, grab my keys and my mask, and then finally open the door with all the lights completely off. Because it's so dark, I can't rely on my sense of sight. I have to use my sense of touch to feel the wall to find the leash and where the leash and harness are hanging. What's helpful when I'm trying to put my dog's harness on is that he gets really excited and wags his tail. When he does this, it hits the floor and makes a loud rhythmic thudding sound. Thud, 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 thud. This makes it easier to find out where he is. Have any of you had to rely on your other senses in the dark? Which ones do you use? So a lot of you have gone through this too. You know, it had me thinking, scientists. I was thinking about how grateful I am to have lights and electricity. This is only a problem for me in the morning during the winter, because it gets so dark so early. But this also used to be a big problem when electricity wasn't available to everybody and people had to rely on oil lamps. Oil lamps were dangerous because they could catch fire, things would catch fire around them. In the 1800s, many major cities and towns had outdoor electric lighting so that people could still go out at night. But they still used gas lights indoors. Many scientists and inventors made different kinds of light bulbs that would work, but they always had something go wrong. Also, a lot of these light bulbs were really expensive, so they didn't become popular. Then in 1878, 31-year-old Thomas Edison promised the world that he would make a light bulb that would work, be cost-effective, and be ready in 6 weeks. He unfortunately was not successful in making it in 6 weeks, but he launched a light bulb on New Year's Day the next year. But it still wasn't right for the public, the people. Another inventor in England, Sir Joseph Swan, made another light bulb that seemed to work well. Edison used his invention and made improvements on it, and they worked. He tried to claim that he and his team made the light bulb and the improvements, but Sir Swan, the inventor and scientist from England, made sure he received credit. The light bulb was able to run for about 13 hours. That's half a day. This light bulb was different from the other ones before because more people could use it, it lasted longer, and it was able to be used indoors. Once electricity and indoor lighting became popular, people could work longer and spend more time together. I mean, try to imagine having a family dinner when it's really dark. You would need so many gas lights. Scientists, let's actually think about that for a moment. Can you think about how light bulbs helped people and changed their lives? You all came up with interesting things. They help us see when we eat, get dressed, when we're hanging out, and many more things. This gives me an idea for an activity that you can do at home. I've done something like this in my class before, but it'd be perfect now that we're learning about the 5 senses and how we use them as scientists. You won't need any supplies for this. I want you to see what it was like to not have light, but I mostly want you to focus on what other things you notice or observe when you have less to see. Here's what you can do. When it gets dark, go into a room and sit. I want you to notice I want you to pay attention to what you notice while using your other senses. But, I just realized one sense will be a little difficult to use. Scientists, will we be able to use our sense of taste for this activity? You're right. We cannot use our sense of taste for this activity. That means you will only need your sense of sound, smell, and touch. So when you start the activity and you're already seated, take deep breaths to smell things through your nose. Can you smell things nearby or far away? You can write these things down if you'd like, or you could just keep them in your mind. When you're sitting, you can close your eyes when using your sense of sound. I do that because it helps me focus when I need to listen for things. If you want to challenge yourself while you're sitting in the dark, you can bring some things with you. You can bring a sweater to try to put on in the dark, or you can try to write on a piece of paper with a pencil or pen. You can really test out your sense of touch and try to do both of these challenges. Can any of my scientists come up with their own dark time challenges? Ooh, that sounds really tough. It can be difficult to make observations without using all of our senses, but that means that we don't need all of our senses to be scientists and make observations. Very interesting. And you know what? I almost forgot to share an interesting fact about the scientist Thomas Edison. He actually was hard of hearing and really struggled with his sense of sound. It's interesting that he helped everybody with their sense of sight, but yet struggles with his own senses. Tomorrow, we will have a chance to practice using all 5 of our senses and make something together. Muchísimas gracias for learning about Thomas Edison with me, y nos vemos mañana.